Hey everyone, today we're going to discuss about the interval estimate of the population proportion. Remember in our last lesson, we've dealt with the point estimate of the population proportion. We have a specific value to estimate kung ano ba yung proportion ng buong population natin. This time naman, we're going to have the interval estimate. So, in determining the confidence interval of the population proportion, we have two assumptions. The sample is a random sample and the conditions for the binomial experiment are satisfied. So, pag sinabi natin binomial experiment, at least satisfy niya yung conditions na binomial siya. Remember in our discussion during the sampling distribution of sample proportion, there are certain conditions for us to say that it is binomial. So please check that out and review those concepts kung kailan nasabing binomial siya. Basta the shortest thing that we can remember here is basta dalawa yung sagot. Okay? Yes or no, agree or disagree, in favor or against. Basically, it all boils down to that idea lang naman eh. Binomial, dalawa sagot. Okay? So, ganun pa rin naman kung paano natin kinukuha yung interval estimate. Same lang din ang idea kung paano kinukuha yung interval estimate ng population mean. Meron pa rin naman tayong margin of error. And in this case, we make use of the z-values. Okay? The margin of error for the confidence interval of the population proportion expressed as E equals the critical value z times the square root of p hat times q hat divided by n. Remember, sample proportion p hat, complement of the sample proportion q hat. And we have these certain confidence levels. We still make use of those z values, the same z values. 90% confidence, z equals 1.65. 95% confidence, z equals 1.96. 99% confidence, z equals 2.58. And the confidence interval, we still make use of p hat minus the margin of error and p hat plus margin of error. Same idea pa rin ng pag-estimate natin, nagkaiba lang kasi proportion na. Okay? So let's have an example for that. A survey among 300 senior high school students showed that 120 of them wants to work abroad after college. With a 95% confidence level, determine the confidence interval for the proportion of all senior high school students who wants to work abroad. Yan. So, let's determine the values of the variables in this case. First, any sample size natin? Kasi nag-interview tayo ng 300 students, right? So, n equals 300. Sample proportion, p hat. Ilan daw yung gusto mag-abroad after college? 120. So 120 divided by 300. That's equal to 0.4. Now, what's the sample proportion for complement? That's q hat equals 1 minus p hat. So we determine the complement by subtracting 1 from 1 to the 1 minus basta 1 minus p hat na lang, okay? Yun, basta yun. So 1 minus p hat, 1 minus 0.4, that's equal to 0.6. So that's our q hat. Confidence level is 95%. So next step natin, since meron tayong confidence level 95%, let's determine the critical value. Again, pag z-value, minimemorize lang po ito, okay? Since the confidence level is 95%, it follows that the critical value is z equals 1.96. So formula natin, E equals yun, para. It equals to 96 critical value. Next naman natin, solve for the margin of error. So, E equals critical value times the square root of P hat times Q hat divided by N. Ang critical value natin, 1.96. P hat natin, 0.4. Q hat, 0.6. N, 300. Use our calculator, solve for that, we get 0.055. That's our margin of error and we determine the confidence interval. So, ang confidence interval natin, p hat minus margin of error and p hat plus margin of error. So, lower limit natin, p hat minus margin of error. That's p hat minus e, 0.4 minus 0.055. Subtract natin yan, 0.345. Upper limit naman natin, p hat plus margin of error, 0.4 plus 0.055. 0.455. Kung iisipin natin, no, similar lang din kung paano kinukuha yung interval estimate ng population mean, di ba? Yung pagkuha sa population proportion. Same idea lang din. It always boils down kung paano kinukuha yung margin of error and yung critical values. But the estimate remains the same. So the confidence interval is the population mean is this should be the population proportion in between 0.345 and 0.455. So, we say here that with 95% certainty, 95% sure tayo na yung population ng senior high school students who wants to work abroad after college is between 34.5% and 45.5%. So, that's our interval estimate ng mga gustong mag-abroad after college. So we have some other examples here. Please review these examples. So let's go to our main point here. Just like with population mean, we can also determine the confidence interval of population proportion. They share the same idea, only here we use a proportion instead of a mean. So, yun. That's everything about the interval estimate of the population proportion. Ang next lesson naman natin, this time, we're going to determine ano ba yung dapat na sample size natin whenever we conduct a study. So, sample size determination na tayo in our next lesson. So, I hope you guys learned a lot today and thank you guys for watching.